When she says your name, you'll just announce, "Hey, I'm here." You can turn on your camera. But yeah, we hear you. It is muted, actually.
Good morning. I'm Judge Tammy Long Hayward. This is the State Court of Clayton County. This is the second day of January 2025, and this is the arraignment calendar for 1 p.m. I will call the calendar, but I'm going to give you some information first. Ladies and gentlemen, the arraignment calendar is where your case first appears before the state court, the trial court, that's going to resolve your case either through a trial, a plea, or some administrative device. So you may not have had your case before us previously, but this is where your case will be until it is concluded. Everyone has the right to have an attorney to represent you. If you cannot afford an attorney, please let me know when I call your name and we discuss your case. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are on the calendar, please make sure that if you're on the screen, you need your first and last name visible. So you need to rename yourself. If you touch the screen where your name is, you should see 3 dots appear in a blue box. Click on that and a pull down menu will show up and it should have rename as an option. If not, look for something that says more under participants. Click on that. That should allow you to rename yourself. But I need your first and last name on the screen. Now, I expect to hear 3 types of pleas in this calendar. You have the opportunity to enter a plea of not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere, nolo. By entering a plea of not guilty, you're telling the court that you wish to have a trial at a later date. You'll have plenty of time to prepare. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the state's burden to prove the case against you at trial. You do not have to give any evidence or testimony. You have a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. All you really have to do is show up for trial, but it is the state's burden to prove the case. Now, if you wish to present evidence and testimony on your behalf or challenge any arguments made by the state, you may do so. If you wish to go forward with trial without an attorney, I need to caution you that that could be have a very negative impact on your ability to defend yourself. The court cannot treat you any differently than I would treat an attorney or someone who knows the rules of evidence and procedure. And so you will have difficulty getting your evidence and arguments before the court and into the record of the court. So please be mindful of that as you go forward. If you enter a plea of not guilty, as I stated, the trial will take place at a later date. If you were convicted at trial, the maximum penalty could be up to 12 months in jail, a $5,000 fine, or both per offense. If you were convicted, but you believe the conviction was a mistake, then you would have the opportunity after a trial to appeal to an appellate court, a higher court, and they could make a different decision. Those are the rights that come with having a trial. If you wish to enter a plea of guilty or nolo, we'll accept your pleas today. We'll impose the sentence, and then you can complete that sentence as ordered. A guilty plea means that you believe you're guilty of the underlying offenses before the court. Even if you don't agree with the full factual recitation as presented by the state, you do agree that you committed the underlying crime. And in that case, we would allow you or you and your attorney to speak with the state to determine if you all can agree upon a recommended sentence. If not, I'll hear from both of you and I'll impose the sentence that I choose. All right. If you wish to enter a plea of nolo, a nolo plea means that you are not contesting the evidence that the state has the state has evidence that could result in a conviction against you. You're not going to contest that evidence, but you do not wish to enter a guilty plea and say that you're guilty of the offense. No contest merely means that you're not contesting it. You'll also be able to resolve your case. You'll have the opportunity to speak with the state to see if you all can agree upon a sentence recommendation. If not, I'll hear from both sides and make a determination. Those are the rights that come with your appearance on this calendar. Understand also that NOLO plea has some benefits for you, particularly if you are entering a plea in a traffic offense. Traffic offenses, a NOLO plea could help you avoid points on your license. It could help you avoid a suspension of your license. You have to be NOLO eligible, which means that you have not used a NOLO plea for the same or similar offense within the last 5 years. If you're NOLO eligible, then you'll be able to use that plea to assist you. We'll talk with you individually about that. If you are under the age of 21, understand that it takes fewer points. I've been corrected. It is 4 points for you to have a suspension of your license. Your suspension will be longer. It will be 6 months, and it will be a hard suspension, meaning that you will not have the opportunity to get a temporary permit for school or work. So please be mindful of that when you come before the court if you are under 21 when you make your plea or when you go to trial. Now, for those of you who hold a commercial driver's license and you make your living, support yourself and your family with a commercial driver's license, please understand that we cannot tell you what might happen if you enter a plea or if you are convicted at trial. So if you are unsure, please give yourself the opportunity to investigate what might happen. You can enter a plea of not guilty. During the period of time that you are preparing for trial, you can determine whether this will have a negative effect on your commercial driver's license. And when you come back, then you will be aware of the consequences of entering a plea or going forward with trial. All right, those are the rights that you have with respect to your appearance on this calendar. I'm going to call your name. If you have an attorney, your attorney is going to speak on your behalf, but I need to know that you are here. If you are wanting to represent yourself, then I'll let you speak with the state, or I'll let them announce what they believe they wish to recommend as a sentence in your case, and we will go from there. All right, Rondell Maurice Blatcher. The first case, Rondell Blatcher, the 2022 CR 0094 case is closed. The remaining case is for simple battery, family violence, and simple battery. Mr. Blatcher, Rondell Maurice Blatcher.
The state will move for a bench warrant and a bond forfeiture.
All right, last call for Rondell Maurice Blatcher. I do not see them on the calendar, on the video calendar. If they are not in court, the court is going to issue a bench warrant and bond forfeiture.
No one's in the courtroom by that name, Judge.
All right, thank you. Next on the calendar is Curtis Lee DeBose II. Athenia King is the attorney, and a waiver has been filed. All right, next is Berkey Florville. Berkey Florville. All right. Mr.
Yes.
Is present, and Lister Holton Dennis is representing.
Judge, I'll need a breakout room with Miss Florville. We had the wrong phone number in our file, so I just need to speak to her before we make an announcement.
All right, Ms. Florville, at the appropriate time, I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mr. Lynch so that you all can privately discuss what you need to discuss, and then he'll make an announcement on your behalf, okay?
Thank you.
All right, until that time, you can just mute your device. You'll hear me call your name, and then when you unmute at that time.
Okay.
Thank you. Emmanuel Deshawn Johnson. Emmanuel Deshawn Johnson.
Your Honor, the state will move for a bench warrant bond forfeiture.
Last call for Emmanuel Deshawn Johnson. Any word from Lister Holton Dennis?
Judge, we tried to reach out myself and Mr. Taylor, we tried all the numbers we had. We were not successful.
All right, bench warrant bond forfeiture for both cases, 2022 CR 00080 and 2024 CR 02226. All right, next on the calendar is Willie Lee Mann. Willie Lee Mann. Last call for Willie Lee Mann.
The state will move for bench warrant bond forfeiture
Bench warrant bond forfeiture granted.
for both cases, Your Honor. He has two on the
All
calendar.
right, for case 2022 CR 00141 and case 2023 CR 01926. Bench warrant bond forfeiture.
Judge,
All right,
I
yes.
understand you're issuing bench warrant bond forfeiture for Mr. Willie Mann. We are only appointed on the first case, even though he'll be bench warranted. Should we go ahead and submit an appointment order for the second case as well?
Yes, sir, you may.
Thank you.
Naeem Mujahid Moffitt. Naeem Mujahid Moffitt.
Judge, he's present in court, and I believe we're going to have a negotiated plea in that case.
All right, Mr. Moffitt will come back to you in a moment. All right. Marbil Javier Molina. Marbil Javier Molina.
The state will move for a bench warrant bond forfeiture.
Last call for Marbil Javier Molina. All right, bench warrant bond forfeiture. Next on the calendar is Javer Kim Fulford Javer Kim Shakir. Fulford Javer Kim Shakir.
The state will move for bench warrant bond forfeiture.
All right, bench warrant bond forfeiture will be granted for Shakir. All right, Michael LaDon Smith. Mr. Smith is present by video.
Yes, Michael Smith is here. Please, no bench warrant.
No bench warrant, Mr. Smith.
I already got one.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
don't
Sorry.
tell us too much.
Sorry,
Mr.
I
Smith,
apologize.
you have a no insurance charge. Mr. Smith, do you currently have insurance?
Oh,
Your
I
Honor,
don't.
his camera is off. If he could turn his camera on.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
Mr.
apologize.
Smith, do you know how to do that? Okay, there you
Okay.
are. Do you
Yes.
currently have insurance?
No, I currently don't drive the car right now. I'm currently not driving any vehicle at the moment.
All right.
So how are you getting around?
Lyft.
Okay. Your Honor, the state's gonna knock across his face.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, go ahead, and when you do start driving again, make sure it is so much cheaper. I know it seems like a lot when you're facing insurance and all of that, but it is, in the long run, it is so much cheaper to have all of your documents and all of your the things that you need to drive properly. Okay,
Yes,
your registration, your insurance, all of that. So Ms. Hagler is going to be kind enough to no pros your case. You're going to be free to go at this time, but I just ask that when you get back on the road, that you please just make sure that you keep those documents in good stead, because it is so much cheaper to do it right the first time.
I promise. I don't want no problems. You know, I need my license. I'm in HVAC, so I need to drive a truck around.
Yes, sir, because let me tell you, I got a friend who runs an HVAC company. He can't keep good workers. So if HVAC is a good place to land.
Yeah, I definitely
All
want to
right.
yeah, I definitely want to see me again. Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Smith, you have a great year.
All right.
Thank you. All right, and Lorena Tapia. Lorena Tapia.
The state will move for a bench warrant bond forfeiture.
Okay, Lister Holton Dennis.
Judge, we did attempt to reach out. I know Mr. Taylor did, and I did as well.
No contacting.
All right, so bench warrant bond forfeiture for Lorena Tapia.
Thank you, Judge.
And that is the last case on the calendar. So the only two case that we have outstanding is Floville, and I'll go ahead, or Moffitt, I'm sorry. And you wanted to speak with Ms. Floville?
Yes, Judge, but I was thinking if we could take Mr. Moffitt's plea first, then me and Mr. Bill can have a completely empty courtroom. We can have a private conversation.
No problem, Mr. Moffitt. All right, Mr. Moffitt, raise your right hand for me, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. So, Mr. Moffitt, you're before the court on State of Georgia versus Naeem Mujahid Moffitt. Mr. Moffitt, you're before the court on case 2022 CR 00074 for license not on person and giving a false name, address, or date of birth. Your attorney, Mr. Lynch, is with you at the podium. Mr. Lynch, what is your client plea to the two offenses before the court?
Judge, we were going to ask to accept the negotiated recommendation from the state, which would null pros count 1, and we were going to ask the court to take a dolo plea to count 2.
All right. By entering a plea of nolo to count 2, count 1 would be no pros. You give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, Mr. Moffitt?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On or about July 27th of 2021, at 681 Flint River, Jonesboro, Georgia, 30236, Clayton County, while participating in a road safety check that was planned and supervised by Lieutenant Santiago. The purpose of the road safety check was to check for licenses and registrations. Officer S. Franklin did encounter the defendant, who was in physical control and the sole occupant of a 2005 Mercedes-Benz. Upon making contact with the defendant and asking for his license, the defendant advised he had left it at his job. Officer Franklin then attempted to identify him through GCIC to confirm the defendant's identity. However, the defendant gave a false name of Jared Brown. After several attempts to identify the defendant, Officer Franklin finally learned the defendant's real name and learned the reason for him giving a false name, which was to conceal an outstanding warrant that he had at that time in Clayton County for violation of probation and traffic offense. Your Honor, those are the facts of the case. The state's offer is count 1 to not cross and count 2, a fine of $100 to be suspended.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Moffitt, this is 2025. Let's normalize some things. Let's normalize common sense. If you're avoiding one warrant, you're picking up a state charge by giving a false name, address, or date of birth. And if you're giving someone's actual name and date of birth, you're getting them in trouble so that they may have a negative encounter with the police. Let's normalize being responsible, addressing the things that are outstanding so that you can stand up and get those resolved. And number 2, let's not put anybody in jeopardy, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'm going to accept your plea on count 2 of NOLO. Count 1 is no pros, $100 fine that will be suspended for credit for time served. And you are free to go at this time. But Mr. Moffitt, it is always better to deal with anything outstanding on your terms. If they just pick you up, then you're going to spend some time in jail and you may not be able to resolve it right then. You understand me? But if you go and resolve it yourself, you can go with an attorney if you need to. You can have your house in order if they decide to keep you. Nobody's going to be looking for you to find out whether you were just picked up off the street. You have options, but man up and take care of your responsibilities and let's not do this again, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you. Have a great new year.
Are you too?
All right, so Ms. Flaville, I'm going to put you in a breakout room. That way you'll be able to speak with Mr. Lynch and he's going to talk to you about your case privately. And when you all come back, then you can make an announcement, okay? I'm gonna put the courtroom and Ms. Flaville in breakout room number 2. All right, Ms. Flaville, you'll see an invitation pop up on your screen. Click on that. In order to get back to the main courtroom, just touch your screen. That should activate a blue box that says return to main room, okay? All right, I'm gonna put you in the breakout room. All right, Ms. Floril, if you just touch the invitation, you should be able to go in. All right. Mr. Lynch, there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have breezed through this calendar, so we'll be back in a moment to handle what I believe to be our last case. After that, once we've conformed the calendar, I'll go back and sign anything that you all have sent me, and I'll be signing all day, so thank you. And I hope everybody had a great holiday season and a happy and healthy new year.
Can I request a brief breakout room with Attorney Hagler?
Certainly. All right, I'm gonna put the breakout room, I'll put the courtroom in breakout room number 1 with Attorney Hagler. All right, invitations have been sent.
Excuse me. My name hasn't been called yet.
What's your name, sir?
Justin Willis.
I don't have a Willis on my calendar, but can somebody check and see if Mr. Willis is a witness or was on another calendar? Thank
You told me to come back on the 2nd of January.
Okay, let's pull Mr. Willis's case, and so I can reorient myself because I don't have that note in front of me. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Willis, what's your middle initial?
J.
Jamar or Jamal?
Jamal.
Okay, 1 second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Willis. Hold on.
Thank you.
All right.
Your Honor, could I be placed back in a breakout room? This time I'm with Ms. Florville one more time, and then we should have a plea for you. I just need a quick conversation with Ms. Florville to let her know the final kind of agreement that we have.
No problem. I'm gonna put you back in breakout room number 2, 3. All right, I'm moving you back to the room with Ms. Flowville. All righty, you can both enter the room. Oh, Mr. Willis. So you can I see you, sir?
Oh, hold up.
All right, I can't see you. It's all black. Okay, there you are. You were here before the court asking to be able to hire private counsel. And I gave you an opportunity to do that. All right, who's your counsel, sir?
I decided that I'm not going to proceed with a lawyer. I just want to go and get it over with and plead no law to my case.
All right. So Miss Ms. Arnold, when is Mr. Smith next? I mean, sorry, Mr. Willis next on the calendar?
He hasn't been scheduled yet.
Okay, Mr. Willis, you'll be scheduled for your appearance, and then when you come back, you'll receive notice in the mail. When you come back, then we'll go ahead and resolve your case.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
So I'm gonna get something on my email, or I'm gonna get some kind
No,
of
we don't email notices. We send them by regular mail.
my regular mail.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure because last time I didn't get a time on when
Okay,
to day, so I just
Mr.
wanted to make sure.
Willis, did you have notice come to your house, or did you change your address at any time since you've been arrested?
Oh, ma'am.
All right, Miss Arnold, do you see an address for Mr. Willis?
I do. I can put it in the chat. He can confirm if that's the
Okay,
correct one.
Mr. Willis, you're gonna see a red box with a number in it. Click on that. Miss Arnold is gonna send you the address that we have. You will confirm whether that's your correct mailing address. If it is, you're free to go. All right, Mr. Lynch. Mr. Lynch. Oh, he's gone. Oh, excuse me.
Judge,
Yes.
so I was in breakout room 2, but Miss Florville was not, but I do not see her in the main.
I'm here now. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you, Miss Florville. What happened?
I accidentally exit the meeting instead of the breakout room. I had a issue figuring out how to leave the room only.
Okay, do you need her back in the breakout room, Mr.
Yep.
Lynch, or do you need her in the main room?
No, in the breakout room, so I can just talk to her real quick and then we'll have a plea.
All right, Ms. Florville, I'm gonna put you back in the breakout room with Mr. Lynch. This is breakout room number 2. You'll see an invitation in a moment.
Okay.
All right, there you
All
go.
right.
All right, we'll be back.
Judge, we are ready to go forward with the plea for Ms. Florville. We are going to ask the court to take it under first offender. And we are going to ask the court, well, yeah.
Ms. Florville, raise your right hand for me.
Okay.
You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. You're before the court on 2022 CR 00084, Berkey Florville, theft of services. Mr. Lynch, what is your client plead to the offense before the court?
She's going to plead guilty, but she's going to ask that you take that under the act for first offenders.
All right, the court is, you're entering a plea of guilty under the first offender statute. By doing so, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
I understand.
All right, factual basis and recommendation, please.
Your Honor, on or about September the 13th of 2021, Officer Kellyon, Kellon Reyes, was dispatched to TGIF Fridays, B Center 9700 Spine Road, Atlanta, Georgia 30337, Clayton County, specifically to Concourse F on a person accused of theft of services. Upon arrival, he met with the waitress, Miss Catherine Harvey, Kathryn Harvey, and Miss Harvey stated that she was serving the defendant at the restaurant on Concourse B. Miss Harvey stated that the defendant consumed a meal that added up to $30. Miss Harvey stated that when the time came to pay for the meal, the defendant handed her a debit card that declined. The defendant stated she needed to go to an ATM so that Miss Harvey asked her for her driver's license to hold while the defendant went and get cash from an ATM. The defendant decided to walk away and proceeded to exit the business without attempting to pay. The defendant then went down to the train level and walked from Concourse B to Concourse F. During this time, Miss Harvey was following her. When the defendant reached Concourse F, she decided to enter the women's bathroom. When the defendant exited the women's restroom, Officer Reyes made contact with her to get her side of the story. The defendant stated that she needed to get cash from the ATM in order to pay for her services. Officer Reyes walked the defendant to the nearest ATM in order to give her the opportunity to pay for her services. At that time, when she tried to obtain cash from the ATM, her card was declined and no money was withdrawn. At that time, the defendant was arrested. Your Honor, those are the facts of the case. The state's recommendation is 12 months probation, a fine of $200. The defendant is to not return and to stay away from the TGIF Fridays located at 9700 Spine Road, Atlanta, Georgia 30337. Restitution to the victim of $30, and the state has no problems with the conditions. Probation terminated upon completion of conditions.
Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I had discussed with the state. First of all, as far as first offender status, I believe this is the only criminal offense on her record. From speaking to Ms. Florville, while she is taking responsibility, she has extreme anxiety, and I think that played into, when she realized that her debit card was being declined, the way she handled it. And I think from speaking to her, she wasn't properly medicated at the time. not to discount what happened, Judge, but Miss Berkey, I'm sorry, Miss Florville, she is a resident of Florida. So that's why we're asking the court to consider mail-in reporting and terminate on completion. She's not currently working, although she has worked in the past as a loan officer. And I'm not sure what her future job prospects are right now. She's living with her grandmother. It is not working, but she does indicate she will have the ability to pay the fine and the restitution amount. So I'm asking the court to take this under first offender, to consider waiving the probation fees, but most importantly, if you would allow probation to terminate on completion, and so that when she pays these fines and restitution, that she wouldn't have a reporting obligation. It's going to be kind of tough for her to do that from out of state, Judge.
Ms. Florville, you were in the airport. Where were you going at that time?
I had a job interview in Chicago, Illinois. I have a friend there that I called to send me some money to make it to the interview as soon as possible. I had some extra cash on my debit, so I said possibly getting a meal to eat. I had a 2-hour layover from Miami International.
Okay.
It's at that point, yeah.
So when you tried the debit card, the money wasn't there?
I tried the debit card. I gave it to the waitress. The money wasn't there. I asked her to hold my identification for me to go to the ATM to retrieve the money. I then proceed to walk to the ATM to get the money for her. I remember having to urinate, so I'm panicking that I might urine myself. I have a very bad bladder, and I walked way too far from the restaurant, but I do not recall being followed by the someone, and I do not recall having a conversation with Miss Harvey. But when I did make it to the ATM, officers were there, and I attempted to remove the money from there. It was declined. I asked for opportunity to use my cellular phone to give a friend a call, just give me the money. Maybe I can just pay right then and there. But that was I was denied that by the officer, and he took me in. And I spent about four nights, and I was released on $3,000 bond. Then I returned home to help with my sister, who paid for Uber for me to return home. And I've been in my home ever since, unable to work. Just staying in contact with my family and my church. And then recently, I received this notice in the mail to check to come to court. But I believe this case was disposed because within the 3 years, I did attempt to apply for the Department of Corrections in South Florida, and they sent me a denial saying that I was not qualified because I already had this disposed case that I believe at the time on my record.
Well, it may have just been the arrest on your record, and it's a crime of what would be considered a crime of moral turpitude, which can keep you from getting the arrest alone can keep you from getting a job that does a background check and has a need for you to have a clean record. Ms. Florville, Mr. Lynch, I'm sure, has explained to you first offender and the responsibilities with that and what will happen if you successfully complete or if you don't successfully complete. How old are you?
34.
Okay, I know it's tough out here, but are there no jobs that you can take until you get something better?
Right. I did apply at McDonald's, and I was working there for a time. Yet again, medication, health insurance, and anxiety. Not making excuses, but it's very difficult for me. I'm thinking of just applying for disability honors to be able to afford the ability to stand for a long period of time. Just to be able to see a health provider to tell me that, prescribe me the Prozac, to renew my prescription for me to be able to function, because I cannot function without it. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to accept your plea of guilty under the First Offender Act. I'll send you to 12 months probation to be served by phone or mail. It's mail, so what happens is when you get the form from probation, make 12 copies of it, get 12 envelopes with stamps, and you can mail it in. That is the easiest, simplest, least anxiety producing way to report. You got me? Now,
okay.
The fine is $200. It'll be $298 with the surcharges. You're not to go back to the TGI Friday at the airport. at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. And you'll pay restitution through probation. So you'll pay the $30 in restitution through probation. The restitution amount will be the first amount you pay. So please, probation, please designate that first before anything else. And then upon completion of payment of the fines and fees and the restitution, your probation can terminate. So just be diligent about getting those amounts paid. I know it's difficult because you're not working at this time, but once this is off your record, it might have give you the ability to get a job and get back in the workforce so you can get some health insurance, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Ms. James. Ms. James is the probation intake specialist. She's going to assist you with figuring out everything that you need to know about probation. If there are some things that are specific to your situation, please make sure that you ask Ms. James those questions. And when you are finished, you do not have to come back to the main room. You just start doing probation as directed, okay? All right, so that is I believe our last case on the calendar. Once Ms. Flaville is done with the probation intake, then the court will be done when an adjournment for today. So I'll just wait, but everybody else except me and Ms. James can be excused. And once she comes back, then I'll go ahead and shut down the calendar. All right, the courtroom is down. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, hey, Ms. Hagler, I'm gonna stop by the office and see if I have any videos to pick up. Is that okay?
I mean, that should be, you have an appointment, right?
Yeah, the appointment's at 3, but I just figured maybe
You can give it Miss Arnold to make sure. I mean, it shouldn't be an issue, but
yeah,
just
it's
come by.
2:12.
That's fine. You can come now.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Thank you, Ms. Arnold. All right, so you all are excused. The courtroom is down, and as soon as Ms. James is back, then we'll be in adjournment.
All right. Have a good day, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year.
I'm done, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Ms. James.